a live event. Yes.
Has it started?
I think it started.
You're live.
Okay. So we got to figure out how this thing works real quick. I think we can go view it on the watch page so that we can see like comments and stuff. Oh, cool. Okay, so there's the live chat window.
Awesome.
So that's good.
So that's where the questions come in.
Yep. Okay.
I think people can see us already, can they?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, maybe turn the audio down on that one. Okay, I think this is... Sorry about that, guys. This is actually kind of a first for us. We've never tried this before, so it's a little bit of new territory for us, but we are coming to live right now, streaming over the magic of the interwebs, and we are in Cape Town, and it is our time, like, what, 8 p.m. Sunday night?
8.
And I think the way this works, as we're going to talk, and you guys are just going to type your questions into the comments, and then we are going to just answer them. So if the audio is too low or something, just let us know, because I think we can bump the levels up a little bit. But we'll figure it out as we go. So yeah, thanks for coming, guys. This is something that we've actually wanted to do for such a long time, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you today. Thanks for your support and everything, and for us to be able to come here and answer your questions is actually a pretty cool honor for us.
Awesome.
As a little thank you for supporting us for so long. Brady is actually at a wedding in Durban, so he is not here right now. He's with us in spirit, but I think we can probably answer the questions for Mr. Brady.
We'll do our best.
So I think we're going to kick things off with a little question we have. Why don't you tell us what this is?
Yeah. So this is actually a little box that has some questions in it for the people that couldn't attend the live feed today. So some Patreon followers that send us a little question, and Brian is just gonna pick one.
Yeah, so every now and then we'll pick one of these for the guys that weren't able to make the event.
So we'll start with one of these.
And this one. Okay. So this question is from Josh Crawford, and he says, okay guys, I'm so excited. I'd really like to understand your technology infrastructure and processes better. How do you store all the data, music, movies, and Delos videos raw footage securely? Do you have a ton of external drives? How do they hold up under salt conditions? Looking forward to it. Okay, cool. So that's a pretty good one. So we've done a lot of different things. We used to have just stacks and stacks and stacks of 2 terabyte drives laying around. And for a while there, we actually named them after beers. So we had, Bintang when we were in Indonesia and Philippines. We had Red Horse. We had THP in Madagascar. But when things started to get out of control with backups and stuff, we bought a Western Digital 21 terabyte like RAID array on a wireless network. So it's got like 5 6 terabyte drives in it, and it's running in like RAID 0, and we can access it over the Wi-Fi network in the boat, and it's all redundant, mirrored, hot swappable, all sorts of good stuff.
Awesome.
And it wasn't even too expensive. It was, I think, like just over $1,000.
Pretty
you could
cheap.
probably look it up on Amazon. I think it's the EX 1000 or something.
It's helped us a lot though.
Yep, but we lovingly refer to it as the storage area network. So that's pretty cool. Works good for us. Definitely works better than the 2 terabyte drives. So anything to add?
For sure.
Good one.
Also, I mean, we always send like a complete copy of the SAN to a safe place somewhere else in the world.
Yes,
so
thank you to Karen's mom, because she has a stack of drives at her house in Gotland that we use to back up stuff off the boat, just in case, like, we get broken into and it gets stolen, or the drive gets ruined from salt water or something. But that's pretty good.
I think it's answered that question.
Yeah,
so
cool. So do we have any questions coming in yet?
We have one here. From Warren.
Warren DeMars. Is that how you pronounce it, Warren? DeMars.
Yeah.
And Warren's question is, Can you give us a recap of your travel since Reunion Island and the calendar timelines? Yeah, do you want to do that one?
Yeah. So what is it now? We left Cape Town about a year ago. So, and then we went to Reunion. So we sailed for about, that sail took us like a month, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were in Reunion for about 2 weeks. I'm not so good with the months though, but we were in Reunion for about 2 weeks, and then we sailed to Mauritius, and we were there for about a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we sailed from Mauritius to St. Brendan, which was an awesome little island out in the middle of nowhere with no people whatsoever. So that was really cool. And we were there for about 2 weeks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then we arrived in Madagascar. What month was that when we arrived in Madagascar? It was like beginning of
September or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So beginning of September we arrived in Madagascar, and then we actually stayed there for almost 4 months. And then we came back to South Africa and have been here now for almost
One,
2
months.
2 months.
Hard to say.
Yeah, something like that.
But I guess the crux is we're how far behind real time in videos?
About 7 months.
7 months.
Yeah.
And so yeah, our goal when we leave Cape Town before we head to Namibia is to be right around 3 months behind. So we've caught up a lot. We used to be a lot further behind, but
Yeah.
we're making good progress. Have good internet and we're uploading, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers the question. I think there's some more coming in now. There's where are you now? Yes, we are actually in Cape Town. How did you get so good at managing and fixing the mechanical problems you run into on Delos? From Kevin McGrath. Well, the thing is, like, I actually wasn't that good. I broke a lot of things, it turns out. I remember the first thing I tried to do with our Volvo was in Seattle before I left. I thought I would be real good with preventive maintenance, and I tried to clean the heat exchanger myself. And when I took it out, I actually ended up cracking it, which turned out to be about $1,000 mistake. So I learned that one the hard way. There's a cool book I have by Nigel Calder. It's called Boat Owners Mechanical and Electrical Systems, I think. It's on our, if you go to SV Delos, and then under tidbits and under required reading, that book is in there, and that gives you step-by-step for troubleshooting like alternators, refrigeration, electronics, like just about anything you have in a boat. And then if you kind of learn what tools to have and stuff, and mostly just trial and error and hopefully some common sense.
I would say a lot of patience.
Yeah,
too.
a lot
You
of
have
patience.
way more patience than I do.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Especially when it comes to like mechanical things,
Yeah.
which I don't know a lot about.
You
But
have patience in a different way than me. So.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see. How's the ML holding up by Bob Simpson? Delos is 17 years old now, so she's definitely showing signs of wear. I mean, the motor, the main diesel has like 6,500 hours on it.
Yeah.
The generator has almost 7,000. I'm starting to notice like brushes on motors are wearing out, and I mean the boat itself is solid. We put a new rig on, the hull is good. There's no problems with the major things, but all these small systems like blowers and fans and lighting fixtures start to corrode, and like the settees need new material, and it's she's
Dodger and all of those things, right?
she's lived in by so many people and constantly used. It's just normal wear and tear, just like you get in anything. But she's holding up brilliantly, and as stuff breaks, we try and fix it. So
we did fix a lot of things last year. We kind of had like, when we were in Cape Town, we had a little mini refit thing where we did a lot of boat work.
Yeah.
I mean, you changed like so much things in the engine room.
I went through and I replaced every hose clamp in the engine room, which you don't think hose clamps will wear out, but after 17 years at sea, they do, and then they cause other problems. So
yeah,
try and do some things like that. Okay, so how we doing here? Why not the Seychelles? So, oh wait, here's one from Andy Preston. Do you ever watch SV Delos #1 and cringe?
Yes.
I don't know. I still watch some of the stuff we do now and cringe, but yeah it's been...
it's weird to see yourself. I say that. For me, it definitely is.
it's definitely been a learning
Especially.
experience, and I
Yeah.
think to go back and see the evolution of the videos over time is super cool.
But
Super
it's
cool for us.
amazing, but also you're like, oh,
You're like,
really?
oh, did I? Yeah, I did. So
Yeah.
anyway, why didn't we go to the Seychelles? Well, two
Yeah.
reasons. One, the insurance wouldn't cover us. So
Yeah.
we do have insurance on Delos, and the insurance company flat out said because of something they read on Noonsite, which is completely non-vetted information, like anything can put anything up there, because they read about an incident that happened there 2 years ago, they said that we could not go to the Seychelles. So that was probably the number one thing, because for us not to have insurance coverage would have kind of
Yeah.
sucked.
And then we also wanted to have a longer time in Madagascar, so we kind of,
Yeah.
wanted to stay in less places for longer time than to move
So
more
although we
places, I
would
would
have
say.
loved to, it just didn't
Yeah.
didn't work out.
Next time.
Okay, do you want to pick one?
Where are we?
So let's do two of these right here.
Oh, yeah,
Have
we
you
got
ever
this.
thought about
The cat. Oh, we get that question a lot.
Mhm.
So monohull versus cat, or if we're thinking about also like, if you would you upgrade to a cat instead of a monohull? From my experience, like I've never really sailed on a catamaran, like rough in the ocean or like done a crossing or something like that. So it's a little bit hard to say. I personally like monohulls because of quite a few things,
Yeah,
but I mean, I think it's also just personal preference. Like, I mean, monohulls have, I don't know how to describe it. It's just so many things,
I
right?
thought it'd be
But
good. Like, well, I think I like what you said about personal preference, because it's almost like asking, would you rather live in the city or in the country, or would you rather
yeah,
live in an apartment building or a house? There's no right or wrong answer. There's a lot of different things about sailing cats versus monohulls, and I think for me, it's pretty hard to beat the elegance and style that a monohull has, as far as like the aesthetic value and also the way they sail. I mean, I really like the way that the monohull has sort of a built-in pressure release. We've done a lot of heavy weather sailing in
yeah,
Delos, especially the last 2 seasons. And one of the things in talking with guys that are doing circumnavigations on cats that we've noticed is the monohull has sort of a built-in safe, like a power release valve. So imagine the monohull sailing around and getting hit by a big puff of wind. She heels over and she absorbs that energy, and then she comes back. The same thing when she gets hit by a big wave. She heels over, she absorbs the energy, and she comes back. So you can't do that in a catamaran. That energy is still there, but it has to go somewhere. And so you get hit, and it's a somewhat different motion. And from talking to some of the guys that we did the catamaran interviews with, they said that that energy goes into the hull, it goes into the standing rigging, the running rigging, and the sails. So what they did is they actually said they have to sail a little bit differently. Whereas we will sail to the average wind, like if it's blowing 20 knots and gusting to 30, we'll set sail for 20 knots, which is cool and we're happy with, because we can kind of absorb that
yeah,
energy. But on the cat, you really, from what I understand, need to set sail for the maximum wind, right? So they would set sail assuming that it was going to be 30 knots
so you
instead of
really
20
just
knots.
sail differently,
Yeah,
right?
you have to. I think you definitely have to sail differently. Otherwise, what I've heard is, especially Arthur telling us that before they started realizing that they were breaking blocks, they were stretching sails. They were kind of blowing up some standing rigging and stuff.
But
So
you would learn as you
yeah,
would
yeah,
go,
you would
right?
definitely learn.
And then also, I mean, the catamaran has a lot more space, which is a
It
plus,
is. But then
and
there's the weight
cost.
sensitivity
Yeah.
as well, somewhat higher cost, and the monohulls can carry an extraordinary amount of weight, and
Especially
we
Delos.
on Delos we when we fill up with fuel and water, that's 2 tons. When we fill up with canned goods, that's another 500 kilos, half ton. If you start adding like beer, wine, dive compressor, 5 dive kits, bottles, like all
Yeah.
the other things that we carry along with us, solar panels, surfboards, like big dinghy, motor, kayak, it's a lot of stuff, and that's something we can load up, and on Delos we maybe notice a 0.25 knot difference in light winds, and nothing in heavy winds. So but I mean,
Yeah, I
either
think.
capable.
I mean, right now, I would say I would probably stick with the
Yeah, I think if
monohull.
we were
But
gonna change, we would go to like maybe I don't know. We've kind of thinking of like a 70-something foot expeditionary style monohull that for like more high latitude sailing and stuff.
yeah,
So maybe that's the plan. Hope that answered that question a little bit, guys. But there's probably a lot more people out there that know way more about us than cat sailing. So,
yeah, for sure.
but I think we're really happy with the way Delos sails now.
Yeah, I think we have to scroll up a little bit there.
Okay, so let's see here. We're getting a little bit further behind. Let's see. So we're just going to have to start going down here. Any plans on visiting the Med? And once you finish your circumnavigation, will you go for round 2? So, yeah, I mean, we'd love to see the Med. There's so many places we'd love to see. I think the next coming year will take us through Namibia, and then it's going to we're going to cross the Atlantic via St. Helena to Brazil, and then we're going to work our way up into the Caribbean. So we should be into the Caribbean like maybe by the end of the year, November,
Something like
December,
that.
just in time for the next season. After that, like,
Yeah,
who
I mean, I think
knows?
we'll stay in the Caribbean for maybe 1 season, maybe 2.
Yeah, I
I mean,
don't
it's
know. We'll see.
impossible to say, but
Then after that, we could go to the Med. We could
South
go
Pacific
through, yeah,
that I
Karen,
haven't seen.
because Karen got on in New Zealand, so she didn't get to
Yeah,
see much of the South Pacific. So I'd really like to take her back through French Polynesia and show some of those special places. So,
we'll
yeah.
see.
So maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
What is the average monthly budget for keeping Delos seaworthy? And this is by Greg Malley. Question: do you spend more just before heading out on a passage? So we've kind of gotten this average for maintenance, and the way that we do it and the way we kind of figure out our budget and stuff is like a 1.5% rule. And this kind of comes a little bit from talking to some of the guys who do the super yachting thing. And the reason why it works is because it's based on boat value. So let's say that you have a boat that's worth $100,000 US. If you follow that 1.5% rule, that means like $1,500 a year is going to be towards like general maintenance, like pumps wearing out, like having to replace hoses, like belts, like just random stuff. And then the other part of that is another 1.5% set aside for like larger term things. Like, okay, eventually I'm going to have to haul out like every 2 or 3 years, depending on what you do. I'm going to have to maybe get a new dinghy engine, maybe a new Dodger, maybe rigging every 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you figure, yeah, 3% of your boat value per year, and then split that up between like longer term things and shorter term things, that's kind of what we figure as far as like maintaining the boat. As far as like personal expenses, food, it's quite reasonable
Here, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think before we go on passage and before we go out for longer, like where it's not going to be that much food and stuff, we do spend a lot more money.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like here, before we leave Cape Town now, we will stock up on a lot of food. So I think we spend more, but then it kind of averages out because then we won't spend really anything for quite a long time.
Yeah, and I think
So
what we found is the average going through expensive countries and cheap countries, it was about 125 US per week per person. So $500 a month per person on general like consumables, like traveling expenses, visa fees, fuel, sort of expendable, like LPG for the stove. So, if you're 3 people, then $1,500 a month. I know that some people do it cheaper. Like I know the guys on Totem, they're
yeah,
2
they're
adults
crazy,
and 3 kids, and they live on $1,500 a month for their entire family. So I guess it's like
I mean,
anything you can
it
spend
yeah.
as much or as little as you have.
on.
Let's see. Will you be making a video of your live shows, please? Yes, absolutely. YouTube should hopefully take care of that for us.
Okay, sweet.
And then we will be uploading it. What would you change about Delos if you could design a boat from scratch? Ooh, that's a good one. I have one thing for the rigging. I would love to have a stay sail or like a baby sail or something for like going upwind and heavy weather. I know that they added them to the next model of MLs, like the 54s and 55s have them. But we don't, so we have to just fly the Genoa or the jib actually on a smaller reef. But if we had a smaller sail up there, then we would furl that all the way in and use that as far as sail plan. But as far as other design stuff,
Yeah,
it's
I
really
don't know.
pretty sweet. I mean, I don't have very many
I
complaints.
mean, more space is always nice. If
We
we
have
can
plenty
bring
of
more
space.
people with us. But other than that,
I mean,
I
we have
can't
plenty
think
of
of anything.
the big water maker, plenty of
Yeah.
refrigeration. I guess there's one small pet peeve is like on the back transom, it slopes up like this from the water up to where the step is, which means that if you're at anchor, like waves can come under there and then they slap and they can make a loud noise. But I mean, that's a pretty minimal thing to pick on, really.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. It's like once every year or something.
Yeah. Let's see here. What changes have you made to Delos's electrical systems, generation, house batteries, etc.? Okay, so quite a bit actually.
Yeah.
The MLs are designed to be pretty generator dependent boats, and when I first bought Delos, you needed to run the generator 2 times a day, at least an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon, sometimes an hour and a half or 2 hours, depending on what you were doing. And so the first thing I did was add solar panels, which helped incredibly. And now we have 3 panels. Each of them are 330 watts, so there are 1,000 watts of solar in total. And that is enough to run the entire boat. So it runs the lights, the toilets, the refrigeration, charging all of our cameras, like radio, anything.
Yeah.
Pretty much. We even
Ice
got an ice machine to use to run during the day to use the
It's
excess
super
power.
nice.
The only thing where it might fall short is when we're editing on the laptops, because the laptops
Yeah.
take so much juice, it can pull the batteries down quite quickly. So that's one change I made as far as like the DC system. Also, adding the wind generators was cool. That's a big boost, but I think if I had to choose between wind and solar, I would choose solar. It's just much more
Yeah.
uh,
And it's less
dependable,
noisy too.
especially in the tropics.
It's
Yeah.
less noisy.
As far as the navigation electronics, we have upgraded our system finally because the old B&G system was dying a very slow and miserable death, and spare parts were getting hard to find. So we upgraded to a very cool NMEA 2000 system called Maretron, Maretron. And we're very happy with it. It's a very cool system. Maybe look it up. It's about the same price as like Raymarine or Garmin or something like that. So it's not very expensive, and it's cool. It has nice digital displays that graph stuff over time. We've also recently upgraded to running all our navigation off tablets, which I'm actually going to make a video about pretty soon. So I'm not going to cover that in too much detail, but stay tuned for that.
Yeah. I mean, the new system has been really good.
Yeah, it's
a huge
super
improvement.
Cool.
So, and then, I mean, having radar on the tablet and all of that too. I mean, the technology is moving fast,
Mm-hmm.
which is very nice.
All right, you get to pick one.
Okay. Where are we even?
Right in here.
Right in there. How long? Oh,
actually, right down here. How much is the insurance monthly?
Oh yeah, Greg, Molly. How much is the insurance monthly?
What is our insurance? It's yearly, more or less, and what is it? About between 1% and 2% of boat value, depending on where you are. So, when I was in the U.S. Doing coastal cruising, it was more like 1 to 1.25% boat value per year. Crossing the Pacific, it got a little bit higher. Went down again when we got to New Zealand and Australia. Asia started to go up a little bit, and crossing the Indian Ocean, it went up to almost 2%. The reason being, you're talking about sailing these huge distances with little to no repair facilities, and it's like nothing but 10 and 15-day passages with no places to stop for repairs. So if they do have to like repair something or come and do wreck salvage, then it's a higher cost, which kind of makes sense. But yeah, those are the numbers. It is what it is. Like we have it. So
yeah. I think this one, but I can't see the whole question.
Okay, it's Teddy. Teddy from Sail Loot.
Yeah.
Hey, Teddy.
Are you still paying a loan on Delos?
Or
Or have you
okay.
paid off the loan at this point?
No,
No, we have not.
yes, I still have the old boat mortgage. It's sort of like a house mortgage to me, and the interest rate is not bad, and it's tax deductible just like a house is. So I just continue to pay it. It's a 20-year mortgage, so it's fine. It's good. Maybe someday we'll pay it off.
How much? No, is that the same one?
So this is Ethan.
How much?
Ethan Schlegel. Easy question. What happened to the hammock chair from back in the early episodes? It seemed prominent for many episodes and then it disappeared. You know what? I still use it quite a bit. I don't know why we don't show it so much anymore, but it's still living. It's still cooking. It's called the air chair, and I take it to the beach and I like hang it every chance I get. It's super chill. We hang it off the back of the boat now. Maybe we should show that more.
We should. We should use it more too.
Maybe.
It's an awesome chair.
I love it.
Okay, how do you handle your trash?
Oh, this is a good one. You got this.
Yeah. So when we're out sailing and when we're in islands and stuff, all the organics go overboard. Like, if we have scraps of vegetables or something like that. So that's easy. It just goes back into nature, I guess. If we have dirty plastic or any kind of plastic, we save it. So dirty plastic gets washed and get put into specific kind of bags that we kind of store with the fuel and stuff, because it can be a bit stinky if we're out for a long time. And glass and kind of cans and stuff we try to save as well on the boat as much as we can. If we're at islands, we sometimes burn stuff, but I mean we try to save glass and stuff like that as much as we can when we're out for a really long time. Sometimes, I mean, with like glass bottles that doesn't have anything else than glass on it, we sink it in like 2,000 meters of water or something like that.
Yep.
But I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common practice. Really.
Yeah, I mean, when we're out, we don't really have that much trash.
No, we try, and when we provision before we leave, we try and remove most packaging.
Yeah.
So like we remove all the packaging that goes into like
all the paper,
sealable or reusable containers, all the wrapping, we get rid of before we leave the dock, and so you end up with not that many things, like some metal cans from canned veggies, which we sink in deep water, like you said.
And I mean, we have a soda stream, so we don't have that many bottles of like, soft drinks and stuff, so that helps too.
Yeah. Good answer.
Oh yes.
So read this one.
So this is Anina, 10 years old. Want to know, Karen, do you have new glasses? I do.
No, you have to read it in Swedish.
Oh yeah, Karen, har du nya glasögon? Snygg. Yes, I have new glasses and they're awesome. Okay.
Oh, you can get this one. Is Delos too big?
Oh yeah, is Delos too big for a couple on a passage? Nope. I mean, Delos is a very easy boat in a way to sail, I would say. And I mean, when we were in the Philippines, that was quite a few years ago now, but it was just you and me, like me and Brian, for almost a year. And I mean, we did some passages and stuff, and she's very easy to sail. I mean, I can put up the sails by myself from the cockpit and take them down by myself from the cockpit if it's not extreme conditions, but I can pretty much do everything from the cockpit by myself. So I would say she's a very friendly boat when it comes to that.
Yeah, definitely. I think most people you see out here are cruising couples, right? So like a guy and a girl, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, handling a boat. I mean, there's not too many. Most boats, cruising boats, I think are in the 40-foot range. Delos is probably at the larger size of things, but because of the way she's set up, totally doable.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you manage all the different currencies as you travel? Kelly Belfleur. So we pretty much live only off of debit cards, and we have a very small reserve supply of a few different currencies on Delos just in case. Like we have some US dollars and we have some euros. And between those two, like especially US dollars, you can usually change those or go into a bank or do something with them. It's just kind of a sorry, Mozzie in here. It's just kind of a known thing. And the rest of the time, we use ATMs. So we have a debit card that has no international fees. The one we use is from Capital One. I know the guys on Convivia Tucker, they raved about their Schwab checking account. I didn't even know Schwab had a checking account. But literally the first thing we do is we get in, we hit the ATM, we take out local currency, we have travel alerts on the debit cards, and we just do it like that. It's pretty
I mean, my
simple.
Swedish card is working great too.
Yeah, Karen's
just,
card from Nordea.
Yeah.
I do think there are certain places that where there's not an ATM. Like we heard that there's not an ATM in St. Helena. So I don't know if this is true. But because, we look it up on noon sites, go to countries, check out St. Helena. If it's true, probably somebody has been there and they're going to tell you about it. So before we leave, we'll just, maybe get out some pounds to because it's British, to take us.
We should prepare a little bit.
Yeah.
We never really prepare the money very much.
Okay. Let's see. How long does it take for you to produce one of your average 25 to 30 minute videos?
Oh, it's a good question.
It's a good question.
So when we're out sailing, so that means that we are moving the boat a lot, we are filming a lot, and we are sailing. I would say it takes one person about 1 month to make one episode. So we can make 3 a month basically. But if we are at dock like this and we have unlimited power, we can, we have nice
good internet,
like all of these very good things. I would say it takes about 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. I would say for mine.
Yeah,
for
sure.
You're fast. You're faster than me. And we're both faster than Mr. Brady.
It depends on how much others, how much boat work we need to do and how much other stuff we have kind of going on. But yeah, that's about the time span, I think.
Let's see. The worst thing that has happened on Delos referring to damage. Probably the worst thing was when we hit the reef in the Solomon Islands. So we were out diving. A Japanese shipwreck called I think it was called the Toa Maru or something, and it was a very deep dive. We were anchored in about 150 feet of water or 50 meters, and I was on the boat. I was on Delos with my friend Paul, and Brady and Yosh were down diving the wreck, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day, like 0 knots of wind, sunny blue skies, and all of a sudden this big gusty squall came up and it just kicked up to about 40 knots, and we weren't really ready for it. So dive gear was blowing all over, and the boat actually started to drag. She started to drag backwards towards the reef because we were anchored in just like a day anchorage in such deep water. And by the time I got Delos in gear and was trying to power into the wind because we were dragging anchor, I could feel the back of the boat just sort of slam into the reef, and as soon as it did that, then she pivoted sideways and now was broadways to the swell. And I just remember thinking like, oh, this is how we lose the boat, like on this island diving this wreck in the middle of the Solomons. This is how it happens. I'm going to be one of those stories that you hear about. But my friend Paul ended up putting on a mask, and he went over the side and he looked at the coral where we had hit the reef, and he said, I think we can drive off of this. And what I did is I put the bow thruster down, and then every time a swell would hit Delos on the side, it would lift her up and slam her down a little bit. So every time it did that, I would go full in gear, hard rudder over, and then crank the bow thruster all the way. And we kept on doing that, and eventually we got her bow back into the waves. And then every time now a swell came, we would move forward a little bit. But what actually ended up happening is as we powered off the reef, it was taking chunks out of the bottom of the keel. So it's a very strong keel and a skegged rudder, which I think is very super important in a cruising boat, because the rudder was just, as we were moving forward on the waves, was just smashing and smashing and smashing, and it ended up taking chunks out of the front of the skeg, which we then had to haul out and do a bunch of fiberglass work in Australia. But she didn't leak. She wasn't really that damaged. It was not structural damage. It was more cosmetic because of the design of the skeg rudder, which I'm a huge believer in on cruising boats. Not good for racing boat, but very good for cruising boat. I think that was the worst damage I can think of. Like,
And probably the scariest moment
yeah,
too.
probably definitely the scariest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Would you be interested in an aluminum boat like the Garcia from Jeremy Whitaker? I think the Garcias are super cool boats. I've always liked their design. They're very clean lines. Like, I think they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Very nice
I've
boat.
never sailed on one, but I've been aboard a couple of them, and I've liked that their design philosophy actually reminds me a lot of ML. So it'd be cool to sail on one, but yeah, haven't had the chance yet. But I do think they're cool. I noticed you've switched to metric thinking. Reasons?
Because everybody's using it.
Yeah, I guess
except
well,
the US.
Okay, so Delos is built in France, so everything on board is metric. So everything is in liters, and the depth is in meters, the fuel and water is in liters, and Karen doesn't understand inches or feet or quarts or
all.
ounces. And me and Brady could talk, but then nobody else would understand. And so I guess when we got to New Zealand and Australia, we were having trouble explaining what this meant to people. And so then we just switched to metric. It just became easier. Let's see. Speaking of totem, do you want to do this one?
Chad, speaking of totem, any plans for kids? Well, we've actually been surrounded by kids for the last month because we've had 4 cruising boats in the same marina here, and all of them had a bunch of kids on board. So it's really cool. Like, I don't know, just seeing how you can sail around as a family and work together as a team and do that on a sailboat. I think it's been really amazing. I'm not sure if we're planning on having kids right now, but we'll see.
Sometime. You never know.
You never know.
I don't know. It's the best answer. We should do one from the bucket.
You went to red there.
We should do one from the bucket.
Oh, one from the bucket. Okay.
Do one from the bucket. You get to pick it this time. Okay, question from the bucket. Fred Budgen, Bugden. Is there any gear on Delos that you find less than adequate or just plain despise? If so, what? Why not? And given money, what would you replace it with? What do we find inadequate?
It's a very fancy word.
It is. I'm trying to think. I think our stereo sucks. I don't really like the stereo so much, but that's a pretty minor thing. It's a tough question. I think definite things that we've learned from that we started out with inadequate stuff was fishing gear. Like, we got absolutely killed in the fishing department, and in fact we totally gave up on rods and reels because we were just getting lines broken and we were getting spooled all the time. Imagine a big sailboat going 7 or 8 knots, and you get a fish on, and the amount of time it takes, if it's a big fish, the amount of time it takes to slow the boat down before you get spooled and the line just pops like that, it can take a while. And so you need like 300 meters of line at a minimum. And then you slow the boat, you stop her down, and you start playing her. So what we've actually come to do is just gone with hand lines, and I think we get less bites with the hand lines because it's a much thicker line. Definitely get more bites with the rod and reels, but I think we actually land more fish.
Yeah, I don't know if this is. I've thought of something. I don't know if it's very. If it actually has to do with this question at all.
We'll try.
But something that I've learned, I guess last year, was we were having quite a few problems with bugs in the food, and one item that we bought last year that I think has been absolutely revolutionary is the vacuum packer.
Mm.
So like vacuum packing the pasta and all, like it's been amazing. So
Yeah.
I think that for me has been like a huge. I mean, we haven't had any problems with bugs really.
No.
So
Not since we started vacuum packing everything.
yeah, like all the kind of hard breads that I eat and like all that kind of stuff. So that's been a really good thing that we didn't really have before, and we were trying to freeze stuff, and that it
It
didn't
worked
work.
for a while, but I
Yeah.
think the vacuum bagging is a better long-term solution. Yeah.
Just throw that in there.
Okay. Let's see. What do you guys keep on Delos as far as medical supplies? This is from Holly Linemeyer. Anything in particular for first-time sailors? So
Keep a lot of stuff.
we do keep a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Luckily, we haven't had to use a lot of it, and dang, we should do a video about the medical kit. We've been talking about it for ages. But what I actually did before leaving Seattle was I went to a physician that specializes in marine medicine. And there's quite a few of these guys around, because if you think about, what happens on like oil rigs and big tankers and cargo ships and cruise ships and all this stuff, there's guys out there who prepare pre-made kits for marine medicine. And you can buy one that has a trauma kit, a suture kit, a burn kit, bandages. He gave us a list of antibiotics of the most common ones. Like this is, you need doxycycline, you need amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin for fish poisoning. And then it gives you like a list of all the possible symptoms and treatments and what you can use it for. And that is come in super handy. So I did get that before leaving. And now whenever it expires, we just go to we found another doctor who knows about marine medicine, and we could tell him a list. We're like, okay, we have these antibiotics that we need, like a azithromycin or something, and it's expired last year because we actually didn't use it. Can you refill this prescription? And most of the time they do, because they understand that you need 10 things. You're looking for some pretty heavy pain meds just in case, but you're not some weird guy just taking it for fun. You need it for a boat, and people understand that. So I hope that answers. Anything in particular for first-time sailors? There's a cool book. I think it's by Eastman or something like that. It should be on our required reading list on the website. But I think in the back of that one, it's actually written by a sailor specifically for sailors. If it's not on the website, I'll have to add it. So if it's not in there, check back. But it also has some basic medical kits and supplies that you can take with you.
Also, like burning stuff. Like we have a lot of that stuff, like burning creams and stuff. So
skin stapler, suture kits, syringes, all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How often do you clean the bottom? Ron Betzing. Depends on where you are.
Like now, we would probably need to
clean the bottom here.
No, not here, but if we would need to before we leave.
Yeah.
And because we haven't like painted the bottom for about 2 years now. Mm-hmm. So when it's been 2 years, I would say that we need to clean the bottom about every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Depending, like some places it grows super fast.
Yeah.
Like Madagascar, it grows fast. I don't know what it is about the water in Madagascar. It's clear water, it's tropical, there's a lot of stuff in the water, and so, 2 weeks at the most, and then we start to get some growth with the old paint. When the paint was new, like the first year the paint was on, then, we could go 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something, it was fine. Yeah. But yeah, pretty often, but it's okay. Let's see, how do you deal, Oracle 6. The rule of good video making is an hour of filming per hour of video. Are you concerned with catching up to real time and be able to still make regular videos with the same quality of content? So, yeah, it's a huge issue. It's always that matter of like quality versus pumping out videos. And I know, the surefire way to get more views and more subscribers is to pump out more videos that are shorter in length. But I think what we've decided is that to us, the thing that we enjoy is the telling of the story and the sharing of it. And it probably does cost us like subscribers and views because we do the longer formats and we put more effort into the editing on each one. And I think we're okay with that. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think it's also, I mean, what makes you happy, like what you like to
mm,
do, and that will show through in the videos. And this is kind of the format that we really like and we are proud about and happy about, and
well,
it
you got
makes,
to
you know,
make something that you want
yeah.
to love to do, something that you're proud of.
So
Um,
if you do that, or if you like to make shorter
yeah,
videos, then that's awesome too.
yeah, doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you deal? This is Andy Preston. How do you deal with taxes and all the other stuff you have to do as a U.S. citizen? So yeah, I still deal with it. Of course, I just file my taxes online. I vote. I register to vote via mail. So it gets. Luckily, my mom has an address, and I use her address. So all my important mail gets mailed there, and then I can vote by proxy by mail, which is cool. Taxes, same thing. Like I get, you know, bank statements, interest statements, these sorts of things get mailed to my mom's house, or I can get them electronically. And then I use, for the last couple of years, I've just used TurboTax Online, which, I don't have a very complicated tax situation, so it works pretty good. But still have to do all the same stuff.
Taxes.
Taxes. Uh, let's see. Josh Crawford says, "Are you running any aspect of Delos as a business such that you can deduct some expenses?" So yeah, absolutely. We are, in fact, because we are doing this as sort of a lifestyle-based business. There are certain things that we can choose to take as deductions. Like we buy a lot of cameras, we buy laptops, we have to pay for software, we have to pay for internet, and all of those things directly go into the production of the videos. So I think they should be tax deductible. At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see
Sounds
if
good to me.
the IRS tracks us down, huh?
Mm.
So Teddy Salute says, "Would you get rid of insurance if the loan were paid off, or do you think you'd keep the insurance?" I think I'd probably get rid of it. Like, I don't know what I heard somebody say
Yeah.
the other day. Like, insurance is sort of like betting against yourself, and it has some good things and some bad things. Like at the very minimum, maybe I would do what I do for medical insurance, which is just have catastrophe insurance. So, obviously if I break a leg or I hurt myself or something, then I just go to the doctor and I just pay for that. But what's the worst case scenario? I get some weird, brain cancer or some crazy tumor where it takes specialized treatment and that's something I can't afford. Then I do have insurance to pay for that. And maybe I could do some, I haven't really looked into it, but maybe you can get like, okay, if your dinghy gets stolen, maybe you cover that yourself. But if you sink your boat, then there's like a huge deductible, but it's not enough to destroy your financial well-being.
Yeah, and then
So,
I'm from Sweden, so I really like insurances.
but you have good insurance in
So
Sweden.
I would probably say that I would keep the
Yeah,
insurance, but
we'll
I don't
figure
know.
it out.
Yeah, we'll see when that comes.
Okay, so let's see. Let's take another one from the box. Huh?
One more from the box. Adam.
Adam Pohl. Do you want to read this one?
Okay, hopefully this is a broad question. I like it. Hopefully you'll be up for it. But if not, love to know what changes, improvements, repairs you have made to Delos over the years, like the wind generator and how it will work out.
So let's see. We already talked about the solar.
Yeah.
I guess the wind generator is a good one because we started out with the AirX wind generator, which worked okay, but it was so loud. We actually left it turned off most of the time just because it was literally like jarringly loud. And so we upgraded to the AirX. No, not the AirX, the Silent Wind, which I've been super happy with. We leave it on all the time. It makes the same amount of power, and I think it's fine. Other upgrades?
We're getting a new stove in a few days,
Yeah,
which is
we
quite...
finally got a new stove
Yeah.
because the old one is so rusted away. The burners are not really lighting. We've been working off one burner for like the last few months.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, it pumps like motors and stuff like that. We have repair like changed out, right?
Yeah,
The sails have been changed out
rigged and
and
replaced. I
electronics
mean,
and all
just
that.
about every part of the boat I think I've been through at some point over the last
Yeah.
8 years or whatever it is. Okay, this is a good one. My 12-year-old daughter Bentley wants to know. This is from Chad Thompson. My 12-year-old daughter Bentley wants to know if you miss living on land and your family. Want to talk about that
Yes.
one? Yes.
I think that's the hardest thing with traveling, I guess, in general, or traveling like we do. Um, you really miss family and you really miss your friends. I mean, that's definitely the hardest part of it, to be that far away and for such long times. Um, I would say living on land, like I really enjoy living on the boat. I think having a balance would be the most like ideal thing, like where you kind of sail, more than half of the year, like maybe 8 months, and then you stay in a land-based place for maybe 4 to 6 months,
Yeah.
something like that. So you're kind of alternating where you can have the lifestyle of like living a somewhat normal life.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I have a
Mm.
niece and a nephew,
Yeah.
and I want to see them grow up. I have another brother, and I don't get to spend as much time with him. I mean, I have my mom and my dad. I don't get to see very often, so that's the downside, right? You're
Yeah.
constantly traveling. You don't get to spend as much time with these super important people in your life. Um, but I guess there's a trade-off for everything.
But it's definitely difficult.
Okay, this is a good one. How about you do this one? Biggest contributor to a harmonious crew? Steve Eastwood. It's a good question. What do you think?
Biggest contributor to harmonious crew. What,
You
like
have to
what,
talk
a
louder, I
person?
think. No, like what is the one thing that we do that contributes to everybody getting along well?
Ah, okay. So it was definitely like, it's interesting with the space on the boat though, because when we were 7 people, I would say it was, for Dallas's size, it was hectic.
It
It
was
was
pretty
too
crowded.
too much almost, especially for a longer time. We did awesome though, and I think we learned a lot of things, and especially about this specific, how to kind of create an atmosphere where people like work together in a good way. And I would say structure is the most important thing,
Yep.
to that people know what is expected of them, and that it's all very clear. Like, today is your cooking day, and you know it's your cooking day, and everybody knows that they don't have to cook because you're gonna do it. And you're gonna cook lunch, and you're gonna cook dinner, and then you're gonna clean up. Cleaning day, everybody knows exactly when the cleaning day is. Everybody cleans. It rotates in a way that nobody is left with toilets every week.
And everybody does every job,
Mm-hmm.
which is
It's the same for everybody. And that has worked out really well for us. Same with watch schedule, right? We have a watch schedule for the night and for the days. It just rotates. And you don't have to feel bad for sleeping for 12 hours because it was not your watch or something,
I think, yeah, so in general, removing the ambiguity about
Yeah.
like letting people know what they're supposed to do and when, so it's no surprises, and what's expected of them up front
Yeah.
helps a lot. Let's see here. What is the one tool you would not leave Doc without? Now I have to choose between my vice grips and my digital voltmeter. Oh, that's tough. I don't know. Maybe if I could have a pair of vice grips with like a digital voltmeter attached to it, that would be my dream tool. I could do anything.
Okay.
Sounds
awesome.
Let's see. So, will you be doing it in other crew competitions? So, yes, actually, very soon. But we're going to do a very special one. We're going to do one just for our patrons. And it's going to, we haven't figured out the details yet. That's why we haven't announced it, but stay tuned for that because It's going to be
Yeah.
coming up soon, because now we're moving closer to places that have airports. So, it's
It'll
no
be a lot
longer
easier.
fly into this random island in the middle of nowhere where it's not possible because there's not even an airport there. And if you come out to the boat, you have to come for like 2 months because we're on these long stretches. But we're getting closer to the Caribbean, so people can come and go, and there's countries and airports, and I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Look forward to meeting some new people.
Definitely.
Let's see.
Down here.
Which one?
Down here somewhere.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
Was your Madagascan devil's lettuce cheap, and was it high grade? Did you know there's a donkey living alone on Paros Banos? This is from Dan Waters. You guys should definitely go back to Chagos and see that more guy. So yes, the devil's lettuce in Madagascar is absolutely very cheap. It's extremely cheap. It's just normal, grown in the mountains, very chill, nothing crazy about it at all. And it's enjoyable. It's not crazy. Yes, we knew about the donkey on Paros
We
Banos.
didn't see it though.
It's because it's a terrible anchorage, and it's exposed to the easterlies and the southeasterlies, so it was blowing like stink the whole time we were there. So we didn't get to go to that island, but next time we make it back to Chagos,
Definitely.
hopefully the donkey will still be there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any more to say with the possibility of a reality show? I don't know. I think I really love what we're doing with the YouTube stuff. Like we have 100% control of everything that we do, and we're stoked about that. We don't have to do things that other people want us to do just for ratings or drama or something. But I mean, if we could have an opportunity to expose this incredible lifestyle to more people in a way that was good for us and that we felt was true to what we believe in, then yeah, why not? I don't see any reason not to do it, but it would have to be the right way.
Yeah, definitely. Like it has to feel like something that we like and that we can stand for.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Let's see. Hey guys, this is 3SO. ESSO. Hey guys, I got a question about sun protection. How do you keep protected from it? This is brought up as we have a lot of sun shine here, and one day I would be sailing thanks to you guys. Cool, man. Awesome.
Sweet. I mean, we do have a lot of sunscreen, and we do have like a big kind of tub out in the cockpit. So every time you walk out, if it's sunny out, you use it. It's very kind of convenient in the space.
It's literally like a big 1 liter jug. So when you walk out, you just go and then. And
I mean, personally, I have a specific one for my face that I put on like every morning when we're out. We also use rash guards. Which is awesome. So just long sleeve, kind of up to here.
Hats.
That helps a lot.
We have good hats.
Yeah.
Sun hats are important.
And then, I mean, our cockpit is very protected, and we have sun protection also to put up for the back, so that helps. So I think when we're sailing, we can really get out from the sun as well.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
We've learned.
Yeah. It's no fun to burn, huh?
Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. What editing software do you use?
Ooh, Premiere Pro.
So
Adobe Premiere Pro.
So we use the entire Adobe suite pretty much. Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects are the two.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Works good for us. It was a pretty steep learning curve at first, but we got used to it.
A lot of watching YouTube videos.
So this is, would love to hear your thoughts on storm tactics from Gabriel Harjman. Do you ever heave to or throw out a drogue or sea anchor in bad weather? So we do have a drogue on the boat. Thankfully, we've never met conditions that we felt we would need to warrant its use. We have seen some heavy weather, namely around the Indian Ocean has been the worst, but it was 40s and 50 knots gusting or sometimes holding for a few minutes, but it wasn't that consistent, and I never felt that it was bad enough to where we needed to heave to. We've done it to practice in mid-30s of winds a few times, and it sure does work. I mean, the boat calms down and she rides nicely, and the motion becomes good, and it's a great thing to rest. But when, especially in the last videos we've just put out, we were sailing south to get out of the bad wind. So in fact, we sailed about for 3 days. We sailed south, about what, 600 miles off our course,
Yeah.
to get away from the worst weather. And had we have hove to, then that big low would have caught up with us. So it's really a thing that you have to consider, is sometimes, yeah, that heave to is going to be the thing to do. Sometimes it's better to sail on a different course to get to something where there's a lesser pressure gradient, and there might be, like, 40 knots instead of 60 knots or something like that.
Yeah. We have used the storm jib.
Yeah. We've used the storm jib quite a few times. Yep.
And that works great.
Yeah, works perfect. Let's see. So, who is the best cook? Corbin Miller. Ooh. That's a tough
I don't think
one.
anybody's better than anybody else, I wouldn't say. I think we all have our kind of special things that we like to make.
Brady's comes up with some creative stuff.
Yeah, Brady's a flavor blaster for sure.
Yeah,
I'm more like Swedish, kind of no craziness. Brady's more kind of weird spices and awesome stuff.
Brady is known to throw coffee grounds and stuff. He uses a lot of spicy, Mexican cooking, a lot of sriracha and other stuff.
But I make a mean pizza.
Yeah, Karen makes the best pizza. I make the best breakfast. I think I do pancakes and bacon. Karen does curry. I do a really good curry. Brady does Mexican food.
Yeah.
And
shredded chicken.
Shredded chicken, he does the best at that. And you do awesome Swedish, what's it called? Kladdkaka?
Kladdkaka, yeah, the chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake, yeah.
So, I don't
know. Do you still have Princess of the Week? Gosh, we haven't done that for ages. No. Maybe we should do that again this year. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, thank you for reminding us. Appreciate that. Keith Thorne. Over the years, who was each of yours most memorable crewmate and why?
Ooh.
Whoa.
That's impossible to say, though.
But we can't count the people who have been on the boat for a long time. So if I would somebody who's been around a month, who is the most memorable or something.
Everybody brings in something different, though.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
To be honest, I can't answer that.
I just skip that one. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kevin McGrath, do you feel like you get the time you want to enjoy paradise, or do you feel like you spend too much time working on the videos and boat repairs? Can you talk about that balance? That's a great question, man. Really good question.
We do talk about that a lot. And it's something that it's constantly there, because it is extremely hard. And I think why it's so hard is because we have so many ideas, and we get very excited about we want to do this, let's do this video, let's film this, and it can get out of hand.
Yeah.
And it can really consume you, and especially when you add in the social media. It's not just making the videos, it's pictures, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's YouTube, it's everything, and all the comments and all the amazing people that we kind of meet through this, and then kind of balancing that with having time to just sit and read a book.
It can totally take over, right? You just like working for yourself, you can put as much time into it as you have, but the cool thing is it's all up to you, so you can choose. For me, I think the thing about filming and documenting your life or making these videos about it, it's sort of a double-edged sword, because you look back on all these incredible memories that you had, and you get to see all these things that you did. And I found that you remember so few very small details of your life, but if you have somebody that's actually filming those, then you saw these things that are just cool, and you didn't even realize. But on the other hand, if you do it too much, then you're always observing your life through sort of the camera, which definitely changes the interaction, instead of just enjoying this amazing, beautiful dive you're on and absorbing the whole thing, you're holding the camera, you're worried about filming, you're worried about keeping in focus and making sure that the exposure is correct and getting a good shot. And the same thing for, on the beach or walking through a village, if you want to interact with somebody and you have a camera in your hand, it definitely changes the way that people react to it. There's no way around that. So sometimes what we do is we have non-filming times. Like sometimes we will just go diving without cameras, and sometimes we'll go to the beach or we'll go visit a village without cameras, and we'll trade off. Maybe on one dive I'll have the camera, the next one Karen will, the next one Brady will.
Which is important for sure, yeah.
And so you just have a chance to be in the moment instead of always worried about filming. Let's see. Where are we going? Keith Thorne, minimum number of crew for a comfortable and manageable length of time on watch, chores, sleep schedules.
Okay.
I think,
remember 3 people.
I guess the minimum is 1 person, right?
Yeah.
But,
and then you just sleep.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of single-handers about this, and what do? They can't be on watch, so they just sleep. They set an AS alarm, they set a radar alarm. That's what they do. 2 people, we do 3 hours on, 3 hours off.
3 people use it 2 hours.
Which you get used to after a while. You're tired, but it's doable. I think that's what most cruising couples do, something like that or similar. 3 people, you get 6 hours off, which is fine. You can live on 6 hours of sleep easy.
And then you're awake for 3, and then you sleep for 6. Yeah. And it's tough for the first, I would say 2-3 days, and then you get into the kind of rhythm of it.
Yeah.
But when we were 7 people, we had 2 hours on and then 12 hours off, which was crazy.
Okay, Tom Behrens, what's your favorite meal you had on board? Is there a Delos favorite recipe that you make all the time?
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with the go-to dish by far is probably spaghetti bolognese, because you can always make one no matter what you have. If you have some veggies and you have some tomato sauce and you have some pasta, you can get a spag bowl going on. You can put meat in it. If you don't have meat, it doesn't matter. You can even put fish in it, although I don't really like fish in it that much. But and I love your pizza. Your pizza's the best.
I think my favorite though is that when we are out and have fresh fish, to just have
or sushi.
Exactly, just fish and rice. Just kind of in the oven, just really simple, and then just plain rice to it, which is super, super nice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You want to do a box?
Ooh, box one.
Why not? Okay, this question is from Christy Bros. Do you have any plans to try and catch up? Oh, we've already answered this one.
No.
So talking about are there any plans to catch up the videos to more real time so it's not always a year behind? Well, yep, we've caught up a lot. We're now 7 months behind, and when we leave Cape Town, we'll be 3 months behind.
Yeah.
So that's cruising along. Next part, are there any plans to get the former crew back together for a union sale?
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. I don't know. I'd love to.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. We'll see. No plans, but
no plans. But
maybe somewhere down the road we can get those. I know that we talked to Max and Frida about meeting up with us over the next year, but then we'd have to get Bubs and Yosh.
Yosh, it would be awesome though.
Yeah, it would be cool.
We'll see.
Okay. Let's see. How are we doing? We're doing good.
Nice.
Okay, Gordon Potter. What drew you to the ML, and what other cruising boats did you consider when you first started researching blue water cruising? Okay, so if you guys haven't, there is a searched on this. It's called Mahina Expeditions, MAHINA Expeditions, and they had a seminar in Seattle. This is when it was a seminar about cruising, because I had no idea about any of this stuff. And so I went to the seminar. I got a big book about all sorts of things, and the first pages was what are good value for your money cruising boats, like the top blue water capable cruising boats, like from A to Z, based on not blowing your money, but good value. And ML starts with an A, so it was right up at the top of this list. And I had never heard about the ML. And when I started looking at the specs, and the boat comes outfitted like for blue water cruising, like everything that you could want. It's ready, watertight bulkheads, good waterline length, center cockpit. I thought the catch was cool. And when I walked down the dock, she just sort of like stood out to me, and I was like, oh, like this. I got that feeling, and I just knew I wanted to sail this boat. That was kind of what it was like for me. And the more research I did, the more it made sense. But I looked at everything. I looked at everything from like hunters to Tianas to Haber Grassi to Tartan to um, oh, so many, so many boats. I mean, I looked for like years. But there's a lot of cool boats out there, and you don't have to have a 50-foot like super cruising boat. There's like one of the boats that I didn't even know existed is called a Fast Passage 39, and if you saw the Chasing Bubbles documentary with our friend Alex, that's what he sailed. Like it's a great boat, and it's not expensive. I think he picked it up for like 60 or 70 grand, and it took him around the world. Um, it's a perfectly capable boat. So yeah, there's all sorts out there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Along the lines of Gordon's question above, how long did you sail Delos before you departed Seattle permanently down to Mexico? We skipped Kelly's question. We'll do this real quick. You enjoy beer. How do you all stay so fit? Okay, so
Cleaning.
yeah, cruising is a lot of work. I don't know if you realize,
food.
but for us, most of the time we're doing remote cruising, which means that if you want provisions, it's a dinghy ride followed by a long walk, followed by a 20 or 30 kilo backpack filled with canned goods and whatever else, and then another long walk back to the boat, lifting it up. Like if we put on fuel, like we'll get fuel every 3 months, and you're talking about carrying like 600 liters of fuel, which is 600 kilos, and just taking that from the station into the taxi, like into the dinghy, lifting it up.
Cranking up the dinghy
every night, and then you figure we're always swimming, we're always diving, we're always hiking or exploring, so there's a lot of physical activity.
Yeah.
Sometimes I put on weight very easily. Like whenever I go back to America, I always put on like 8 kilos, which is about 15 or 16 pounds usually, because I like cheese and sauces. Karen's weight never changes.
Always stays the same, whatever I do.
But then when I go sailing and cruising again, and it comes off just as easy as it came on. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now back to, let's see which one.
Yeah,
along the lines of Gordon's question above, how long did you sail Delos before you departed Seattle permanently? So it was 1 year. So I lived aboard and sailed for 1 year. And did a number of small shakedown cruises, starting out from like a few afternoons to like a weekend to like a week, and finally a month-long cruise, and then came back and then departed. But that was over the course of a year.
I think this one, Martin, if you had to sail to final destination, never leave again, where would it be and why? I would say that I have not found that destination yet.
I can tell you that the two top places are probably, what do you say?
Philippines
and
Madagascar for me, for sure.
I think we could be very happy in those places.
Yeah.
Maybe not forever, but certainly for a long time. Okay, Chad Thompson, just curious, what are your thoughts on what seems like an increasing amount of people with little to no sailing experience selling everything and moving their families onto cruising yachts? Wow, man. I think if people are doing it for the right reasons to follow their dreams, then it's their decision, and it's got to be right for them, and they know their situation and their comfort level and their experience way more than anybody else could.
Yeah, I mean, if it feels right for you and that's what you want to do, I think nobody else can really tell you not to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can cruise very differently too. You don't have to go to all the countries that we go to. You don't have to, like you can cruise
there's
so
many different ways to cruise.
That I think you can find something that fits you and the thing in the way that you want to sail.
And I think the
I don't
thing
know.
that I realized is, when I first set out cruising, I thought it was all or nothing. Like I was so thinking, okay, it has to be all or nothing. But it turns out that there's a lot of people out there who they sail seasonally and they have a boat that they can afford. They go sailing when it's the right season. They put the boat away. When the season ends, they go back home to, friends, family, job, home base sort of thing, and you make a life of it that way. So it's
Yeah.
like having a summer house, except it's like a sailboat, right? People do that. Let's see. Have either of you considered taking the U.S. Coast Guard Medical Person in Charge course to upgrade your medical skills? Actually, not that one in particular, but it sounds like a very cool idea. We did, when we were in the Philippines, we did the TCW 95 stuff, which is basically the requirements if you're going to work on any sort of commercial vessel like a cargo ship or a cruise ship or a super yacht for charter or something like that, in which it's pretty good medical training like bandaging, like
That
CPR,
was actually really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
lacerations, burns,
Just to learn.
firefighting. That's a cool course. We've done CPR, we've done some basic other stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be an interesting one to look into.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Mark Gilman, what about safety and security? Have you ever felt unsafe in an area?
Yeah, I would
What?
say like anywhere in the world though. I mean, it is different because you're kind of not by yourself, but it's not the same that you can kind of just, I don't know, when I lived in Melbourne, I mean, you can call the police when we got a break-in in our house, right? When you're sailing, it's a little bit different. You can't just call the police
Yeah, there might
because,
be a language barrier. You might not speak the
yeah.
local language. There might not be any police.
But I mean, have we felt unsafe? Yes, I would say definitely we have. But also we take, if we don't feel safe, well, we lock up the boat. I mean, we always lock the door, and if we feel really unsafe, we do night watches.
Yeah,
So then we sit outside with a big light, and somebody is always awake. So, but I mean, that has not happened many times, like two
no,
times or something.
not so
So,
much. Yeah, not so bad. It's
no,
it's just like anything in the city or your country, where the bad areas are, and people tell you there's ways to find out. The locals will tell you. Anybody you ask will tell you. So it's like there's some places in Seattle where I would not park my car because I knew it was safe. Same thing sailing, right? Same difference.
yeah. But I mean, we haven't encountered any crazy, like any pirates in that way. It's more opportunistic thieves,
Yeah,
I would say.
mostly.
Yeah.
Josh Crawford, do you run into any language challenges communicating with other boats or port authorities? Uh, so
So
other
interesting.
boats, I think most other boats speak English because most of the countries that you go to do speak some amount of English, with a very few exceptions. Like Madagascar, for example, they don't really speak any English. They speak French and Malgache. But we've actually never really found it to be a problem. Like even in a place like Reunion, where the officials didn't speak any word of English, but I knew what I wanted to do. And we
Yeah.
used Google Translate. We needed to go buy a SIM card. So we figured out, okay, mobile phone store, like it's pretty, like you go in with your mobile phone and they kind of know what you want to do.
SIM card.
Yeah,
I don't know.
sim. The officials, like, they know if you're there from a boat, you're there to check out, process passports. It becomes a little bit more difficult when something out of the ordinary happens, like you're trying to get a part for the boat. You have to try and explain, like, I'm looking for like this particular type of stainless steel, like M8 thread, or this particular bearing or seal. Then it gets fun. There's actually a book called The Cruiser's Guide for French, I think it is,
Yeah.
and it lists common things like how do I extend my visa, like where do I find the yacht chandlery, where can I get a diesel or gasoline, and all the words for those. And they have those for Spanish. They have them for quite a few
Yeah.
languages. So, but yeah, not really
You use
too
a
much
lot
of
of
a problem.
hand movements and drawings and stuff like that too, which works pretty well.
Daniel Stark, any real pirate encounters? Not what I would consider to be true pirates. We've had opportunistic thieves. Every time that we've caught somebody on the boat, We've run outside and have scared them away. So they've gotten away with a few things, but it's not been a terrible circumstance where they were there to steal things. They weren't there to steal us or to steal our boat. So I think we've been pretty safe in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Chad Thompson, without Patreon YouTube, how many months out of the year do you think you would be able to cruise versus work to refill the cruising kitty? Whoa, depends. I guess it depends on your lifestyle. Like, there was a point when we ran out of money on the way to Australia where we had about 2 or 3 months of money, and we needed to stretch it to 7 months. So we made it happen. We stopped using the engine. We stopped using the generator to save fuel. We'd sail on and off the anchor. We would never, ever, ever, ever eat out. We would fish constantly. We would row the dinghy instead of using the outboard. We started drinking something called Chinese drink, which is like this
awful.
Instead, because we couldn't afford beer. Well, we bought the still. That helped. So yeah, it's hard to say how many months though, because it depends so differently on the type of boat you have and the type of lifestyle you want to have, and
what you work.
Yeah,
like
and
how much
how
money
much
you
money you
get
make.
when you work. I mean, it would probably be something where you maybe work for a year and then cruise for however long that money can take you, kind of thing. And then you will park the boat again and go and work for, I don't know, depends on where you are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we do one out of the box?
Should.
Okay, Jim Goebel. You have mentioned the garbage found in even the most remote of places, but have you ever run into one of those floating islands of trash I've heard about? Do you know of any charitable causes efforts to mitigate this? So, yes. In fact, I helped a friend before I started sailing Delos. I helped a friend sail from Hawaii, his boat. He bought a cruising boat in Hawaii, sail it back to Seattle, and we sailed through the North Pacific, right through the North Pacific Gyre. And I remember,
you did see one.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I remember looking out and seeing just, a lot of the pieces are very small because they've been broken down, but it's literally like just a sheen of plastic everywhere.
Crazy.
And you see large things. You see like those big glass Japanese fishing, like the old fishing floats.
Really?
And there was there was floats, there was pieces of like floating wood. It was just all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's there and it's real. I don't really know any charities off the top of my head, but we're kind of working on something cool that hopefully in the next couple months we're going to try and do to bring more environmental
But we haven't
awareness.
seen it since then, right? I mean,
No,
there was nothing in the Indian Ocean like that, and
no,
it was a lot of trash in Asia, but it wasn't any islands because it's all on the islands.
Yeah, it's all washed up on shore. Let's see. Keith, any interest in a custom folding swim platform? He's a welder. Oh, well, you know what? If we ever come up with Delos 2.0, then we may be in contact with you, because that could be cool. Let's see. But for now, I think it's pretty good the way it is.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet. But thank you for that. Have you come up with any product ideas related to cruising? Have you made any custom tools for Delos? Well, we've got our Delos shirts. We've got Delos hats.
We did also build that was long ago, though, the chili bin. Radio thing.
Yeah, but it didn't really.
Yeah, it was long ago.
The most of the things that we thought were ideas, it turns out other people have already thought of. Like the cool planing board that we tow behind the dinghy, somebody's done that, and they did it way better than they really did a good job on it. So we got one of those, and yeah, nothing off the top of my head, I guess.
No.
Okay, here's another one. How come you don't have a wind vane? It seems like a must-have for a cruising boat. Yeah, it is cool, and a lot of boats have them. I guess for me, it's a trade-off in space on the back of the boat. So, the stern of Delos is very cool for fishing. It's very cool for stepping on and off the boat, especially when we're at the dock. We can just back right up to the dock. We can step right on and off. When we're swimming, when we're diving, we go off the back. And I think if we added a wind vane, it wouldn't be impossible, but it may complicate some of these things. And as much as we show our autopilot braking in the videos, I mean, it has, we've put 50,000 sea miles on this boat. It's, 17 years old, and that's the original autopilot. So imagine, how many waves and storms it's been through. It does a fantastic job. It does use a lot of electricity, but then again, Delos is already a pretty power hungry boat. So I guess for us, the benefits haven't outweighed the cons in that respect, but definitely maybe for other boats. Let's see. Aside from support received, this is from Joe Nutter. Aside from support received from Patreon, do you receive financial backing from private investors? If no, do you foresee a future need for private equity investments? Well, I don't actually know what a private equity investment is, but I can tell you that we don't. All the funding that we receive is from you guys on Patreon. We do get some ad revenue from YouTube, although it's a decent amount. It's not enough to sustain the project. That really comes from Patreon. People send us cool stuff sometimes. Like I mentioned the planing board. Somebody actually sent us one of those. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got a good deal on Maggie, so we just had to pay for the materials there. So that was cool. So, but no, not really any sort of an investment sort of thing. Recently noticed that the patron levels had been modified. Why the change? Yeah, so what was actually happening is it was becoming kind of like interesting where we'd have people sign up for to get their free shirt and stuff, but then as soon as they got the shirt, they would change to like a lower level, and so we were actually losing a little bit of money there on the shirts, which wasn't a big deal, but I just thought like, well, we should at least try and break even with it. So we just kind of like bumped the levels to try and to update them a little bit and kind of do it a different way where it would be less sort of maintenance for us to do, I guess, if that makes sense. So now it's like it has to be two videos supported before you get a shirt, I think, is the main change.
You can still donate as
Yeah,
much
I mean
as you want,
you can put in as much or
Yes.
as little as you want. None of that's changed,
Yeah.
and I think all the rewards are still mostly the same. I think we increased them on some stuff, but yeah. Let's see. From Logan Monko, ever thought of doing a collaboration with another YouTube sailing channel? Yeah, I think that'd be totally cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We haven't seen any other YouTube sailing channels around this.
Nobody
I guess.
around here.
Maybe
when we get
maybe
to the
we
Caribbean,
get to the Caribbean or
Yeah.
something. I think there's quite a few guys there. We'd love to hang out and chill.
We can film
and,
each other.
Yeah, be like camera on camera all the time. Weirdness.
Camera action.
Be weird. Let's see, Martin Brichot. Forget about the Guide to Fringe. Bring me with you. I will translate it all. Nice. Let's do one out of the bucket, huh? Okay. Leonard. I see that you're using PredictWin for looking at the grid files. Apart from the burnt up Iridium Go gadget, which method do you prefer to get the files, SSB modem or others? We use the SSB and the Pactor modem via WinLink for the first 5 or 6 years of the trip, and it worked great. It was pretty dependable. It was definitely slower, but it worked just fine. The main reason we went with the Iridium is the people who crossed the Indian Ocean the year before us mentioned that they were having connectivity issues as they approached Africa and got further away from Asia. I don't know if that's still true or not, but when we heard that, given that we had so many people on board, we wanted people to be able to stay in contact with family via like SMS and text, and we also wanted to be able to upload pictures for like Instagram and Facebook and do emails reliably or constantly, then the Iridium for us was the way to go. The SSB we haven't actually used since we got it, although it's still there. I think
it's broke.
No, I got it working. I replaced the fuse.
Really?
Yeah, I need to put a new mic on it, so we can't talk on it, but you can send email on it. So. Yep, that's that. Okay, so what aspect of cruising has had the steepest learning curve from Keith Thorne? Ooh.
Ooh, I think one of the biggest things for me, I remember, I mean, starting out, because I had never sailed before I met Delos, and I think living in Sweden, and then I lived in London, and then I lived in Australia, you, even though living in different places and traveling, I always had access to almost anything that I would want. Like, if I really wanted Thai food, it would be somewhere that had something. Like you're always within a reasonable distance from a store or from like a restaurant or from something. And then going sailing, um, first time when we left Australia, and realizing, because we under provisioned quite a bit there, realizing that this is the last fresh stuff we will have for the next month. Like, I won't have a tomato for 4 more weeks.
Yeah.
That was quite interesting. It was a very interesting thing for me because that's something I've never experienced before. Just being completely kind of isolated in that way.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good answer. Just learning to deal without and
Yeah,
knowing that when things run out, that's it. There's
that's
no
it.
more. You can't get any more
Yeah.
for months, perhaps.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see. So Martin is talking. Have you thought about meeting with other YouTube sailing channel and doing I think we already talked about that. A collaboration. Um, yeah, we did meet with SV Totem. That was cool. Although they more do blogs than videos. Okay, I recognize this one. Martha Stela. I think you have to answer this because it's your mom.
Okay. If you would not sail Crazy Thought, what would you do? If we would not sail, what would we do? I think I would probably be a landscape architect.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. In some, like on some really sweet island somewhere.
Yeah, I have no idea what I would do. If it wasn't related to sailing, I don't know. I'd definitely work for myself. I don't think I can ever go back to working for anybody else. Um, yeah, I have no idea. Sorry. uh, Andy Preston, have you ever considered adding charitable activities, for instance, delivering backpacks of school supplies to remote parts? You could most likely leverage your YouTube Patrons. Yes, we have thought about that. And uh, it's often not as easy as it seems because, when you go into some place like Madagascar with a little bit of money to try and donate, you really have to make sure that it goes to the right place. And so
Yeah.
instead of giving it to organizations, we try and do it at a more personal or a smaller level. Like when we went to some of the outer villages um, in Madagascar, we bought fishing gear to bring them. We gave them line, we gave them hooks, we gave them lures. For some of the people in the villages, we gave them ropes, things like that. Um, but I think, yeah, thinking about how we could do more is cool because we actually have pledged that a certain amount of the proceeds that we get from, or the support that we get, goes towards charitable contributions. It's something like 10% of the money that we
Yeah.
get in goes into a set aside account that we then use to help other people. And it could be, a sailor who had a piece of equipment broken that we'll just meet up with him and, we'll help them doing something. Or maybe it's buying somebody dinner if they can't for themselves. Or we've done quite a few things. We really haven't
Yeah.
shown a lot of it, but
Yeah, I know we should get better at that.
yeah, we do some good stuff.
Yeah. But it's really cool, like how, with the t-shirts, how we can set aside that amount and then kind of, use it for things as we meet people and organizations too, I guess.
Okay, so next one. How many cameras and what make and model? So
We have a few.
yeah, with our go-to one is a Sony FDR AX100. It's a camcorder. You can just pick it up. It's like a run and gun sort of automatic camera. If you can pick it up and open it and push the button, anybody can get some sort of a shot.
That one we've used a lot,
use that
and
one
it
a lot.
has been super sturdy. Like
It's if you go to svdelos.com and I think it's tidbits and gear, or there's a FAQ on the homepage. What camera gear do we use? It lists that one. It also lists the Panasonic GH4 that we use. We use a couple GoPros, and really that's about it.
the
It's
drone,
all
but
the drone,
yeah,
Phantom drone. It's
Phantom
all
4.
just consumer stuff. It's not professional quality gear. It's not that expensive, I don't think. Let's see. Do you have someone on land that manages your shirt sales? So we actually use a print-on-demand company called Printful. And so because we don't really, we have my dad and his wife Donna that lovingly help us send out our patron shirts. But for the shirts that we sell and the hats and stuff, they're all digitally printed on demand and then drop shipped directly from the
which is very nice.
It's nice because we don't. It makes it a little bit more expensive because you're not printing 100 or 1,000. They are being printed one-on-one, so it makes we don't really make that much money on them, but we're doing it. We don't really do it for the money. We do it because we think it's cool and fun and good stuff. So, yeah.
It works good.
Chris Kammerer, have you looked at the cost for a satellite internet solution while at sea? I'm sure it's pretty expensive, but maybe it'd be worth it someday, even with bandwidth limitations. So, yeah, I've looked at some of the broadband global access network stuff, and as far as I understand, I think it's still $7 to $10 per megabyte, if I'm not mistaken. So it is fairly expensive. Right now, it's too expensive for us to do. And there's also the thing of like we go to sea to be disconnected. So
it's quite nice
even though like we have the Iridium, we can send email, we can send text and check weather. That's the important stuff for us. But as far as being connected to the internet, I don't know. Even if we could afford it, I'm not sure if it would be something I want.
And also when I'm at sea, even if we are sailing close to land, and we have a little bit of connection, the last thing I want is to be on my phone or on my computer. So I don't know if it would.
But
sometimes
different
it
things
would
for
be
different
very
people,
nice,
you know.
Though, yeah, sometimes it would be nice.
Let's see. So let's see, Keith Thorne. Many of us would like to see more community environmental give back, like SV UMA. Would you be interested in making this a bigger part of your journey? Yeah, I think it could be cool. You know, I want to make sure that it doesn't take away from what our core stuff is, though. Like I know charity is awesome and it's incredible to do all these things, but I want to make cool videos and I want to share this lifestyle, and I think that in doing that itself, it actually helps people follow their dreams, which in turn could it just helps general positivity in the world and life and people in general, and that's what we're about. So if I'm a part of that, then cool. If we can help with charity, then that's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be really like for me, environmental stuff, just learning for me. Like I think that would be really cool as well but I guess we just haven't run across or being contacted or by.
It does take a lot of research to find something valuable and that's the right fit, you know.
And the right people. So
we are thinking about it.
Yeah, definitely super open to different possibilities for sure.
So Warren DeMars, Brian, do you still do some coding? If so, what type of development embedded? No, I don't do anything anymore.
Anything?
Well, not as far as coding.
Yeah.
No, I just editing videos and filming and sailing and fixing broken engines.
That's
mostly.
It.
So let's see, we're coming up on an hour and 40 minutes now.
Jeez.
Well, let's go for a little while longer. Let's take another one from the buckets, and then maybe we'll do a few more questions, and then
we just have to next time next time.
We might have to do another one more at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is from Andreas Schreiber. So at 1800 UTC, he will be on his way home from skiing in Austria. Very cool. Nice. So here are my questions. When will I see Delos in the Mediterranean? Good question. Maybe after we go to the Caribbean? Maybe. Not really sure. Yeah. Maybe sooner. Probably not sooner than the
Probably
Caribbean.
not soon.
But I
Yes.
mean, I would love to sail Delos back to Delos. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah.
We have some delicious beers here. That's very cool. Is the Suez now safe for cruisers or still no option due to piracy risks? So it's actually calmed down quite a bit, especially on the east coast of Africa. And last year, there were a number of boats that went through. You should look at perhaps a blog by a guy named Ken on SV Trim, Trim. I don't know his website, but I'm sure if you search on SV Trim, you could find him. He's got a couple of blogs about his experience. I think they were actually shot at from the Yemen coast, so it's not really the Somali pirates anymore, but there's civil unrest in general in the area, and they were shot at, but they did make it through. Next question, I cannot see a wind steering system on Delos. We already talked about that one. Okay, cool. Next question. Keith Thorne, thanks for the t-shirt answer. I only support once per month at $25, but I've supported for multiple months. Will I still get a tee? Yes, absolutely. And if you haven't gotten a shirt, there's a good chance that there's an email waiting for you in your mailbox. Maybe it went to junk mail or something, but whenever we do the shirts every month, I go through and I send asking for like size and color, and then if I don't get a response back, then the shirt doesn't get sent out. So if you don't happen to have an email in your box and you feel that you are due a shirt, just send me a message and we'll get it sorted out right away. Okay. If money was no issue, would you consider motor cruising or just get a bigger sailing yacht, newly fitted boat? Yeah, I think we'd go for like for me personally, like 70-footer expeditionary style boat meant for all sorts of cool cruising.
Yeah.
Mono, most likely. Who runs the bar at Delos parties? And what are the team's favorite beverages? Whoa, bartending is kind of an all everybody's in on that one. No dedicated bartender, but we often just whoever's up, everybody needs a drink. We do a lot of rum and Coke, obviously, Delos Moonshine and Coke.
I drink a lot of vodka
Karen
soda
drinks
and
a lot of
lime when I
vodka.
do occasionally drink, but not so often.
I haven't. We used to do a lot of dark and stormies,
I
but
know we haven't done those in
we haven't
ages.
gotten any ginger beer in a while.
No.
But that's a good go-to drink for us.
Yeah.
For sure. Joe Nutter, do you track the cost of living for the various ports you visit and trips taken? Food, medical care, water, electricity, docks fees. No, we don't really. We don't really track it at that level.
No.
It's just not something I'm good at, I guess. There are on our website, if you go under, where is it? I just have to find it real quick. Sorry. I think it's under, while I'm looking for this, do you want to take one out of the box?
Sure.
Maybe. I'll find this answer real quick because there is some super cool information from people out there from other blogs. I think it might actually be.
Which one was that?
You want to go ahead and read?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I can read it.
You can read it.
Okay. Brian Nolan. It seems as though several system fails or needed to be repaired in South Africa. With Delos near his 17th birthday, she is due for a stay on the hard or repair or refit. So I would say we did a mini refit, kind of like I think I mentioned it earlier. Last year, and we did repair a lot of things. Like we got a new Dodger, we got new electronics, we did the solar panels, we did a lot of stuff inside as well, like a new washing machine and a new water heater and stuff in the engine room. And so yes, I mean, she is starting to show that she's 17 years old, but
I think the next thing will be just about everything surrounding the engine has failed. So the alternators have worn out, the brushes have worn out. I've replaced the injectors. I've replaced water pump, like the coolant pump, saltwater pump. And next, I think the inside of the engine eventually will probably go, and then it'll be time for a mechanical refit. But it's always I'm sorry, I was not able to find the front of it, but I remember writing that. I just don't know where it is. But there's actually some very cool articles that I'll have to find. I know they're going to be on the new website we're working on.
Okay, cool.
So,
yeah.
But actually, if you guys just real quick, if you search on Estrelita, ESTRILLITA 501B, cost of cruising, they did a compilation of a bunch of really detailed cruising costs from a bunch of families. I think SV Totem has one on their website, and also on Noonsite. If you search Noonsite and cost of cruising, they have a page that has, I don't remember how many boats, but like they have spreadsheets and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
And I wrote all this down, but I can't find it. But maybe if you're savvy with searching, you can find that stuff. Chris Kemmer, do you do a lot of reading on Passage? If so, mention some recent favorites. I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo right now. I think that's very cool. Just recently reread Motissier for the third or fourth time. I've probably read Dove like 6 or 7 times.
I don't really read, but I listen to a lot of books. And I go through a lot of them, especially when they're on Passage, because I can't really read because I get seasick if I read. So I sit and stare at the ocean and listen to books. So I go through quite a few as well.
Links to all of them are all the ones that I've read are on SV Delos. Tidbits, required reading. There's like a dozen or more books on there. Some of my favorites. Let's see. Tom Burns, for the merchandise, did you ever think about going through a company like dftba.com? I have no idea what that is, but we'll check into that. Yeah. So thanks for Tom. Take a look. Next one, Josh Crawford. What kind of cookware do you have in the galley, and how does it hold up? That's a good one.
What kind of? I mean, we have everything that you would find in a normal kitchen, I would say. I mean, pans and pots and all these kind of things. We do have a bread maker, we do have an ice machine, and we do have a water boiler that we use when we're at dock.
Yeah, hot water kettle.
Hot water kettle. Everything holds up pretty well. I mean, the
but what about the pots and pans? I think they're talking about.
Oh.
Like the cookware.
It holds up good, right? I mean, we bought it. We had one pan for the last year for the whole passage, right? In the Indian Ocean last season, we had one pan, and that lasted for a year.
That was a cheap one.
Yeah, it was a cheap
pan.
But
I think in general, like what we've always found is the Teflon coating, if you don't treat it nice, will of course come off. Because marine stoves are a little bit strange, sometimes, like depending on the level of the propane in the bottle, sometimes the flame can be low or high, and the heat is kind of all over the place. So, like thin pans, I think are very hard to cook with because you're more apt to burn stuff. Because I don't know if it's just our stove, but we have less control over the nozzle.
Our stove that is going crazy
but now that we have we got some thicker new pan. And that seems to help better. It just sort of disperses the heat all over. So I hope that helps. Let's see. What does this say? Frederick Wolf.
När ser jag Delos i Östersjön? When will I see Delos in Östersjön? Now I'm getting tired.
Uh-oh.
What is Östersjön?
We're gonna go 10 more minutes. We got 10 more minutes.
What is it called? The lake or the ocean close to Sweden there.
The Baltic Sea.
The Baltic Sea. I lost that word. The Baltic. Well, maybe after the Caribbean, but
I don't know.
Super hard to say.
European tour, huh?
Yeah, no plans yet, but it will happen.
This is from Ronald Bend. I think you have opened the eyes to many about overfishing and the intentional damage to reefs of the world, so you've done lots in that area. Thank you for opening my eyes. Oh, cool, Ronald. I'm glad that you noticed that, because it's something that we actually feel
Yeah.
pretty passionate about, is the things that we are doing to this planet, and we kind of do try and show some of those things, like the dynamite bomber. Um, just recently when we were uh, at Basasta, India, the last time, we saw 100-meter long Russian fishing trawler, and they were fishing in what is supposed to be a no fishing zone. Um, and we called them up on the radio just to see what they were up to, and they just basically told us, like, yeah, we are filling this boat with fish, and then we're going back to Japan. And I was like, whoa, you're in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Madagascar.
It's
You
pretty
are
scary.
way, 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 way far from Japan, and it makes financial sense for you to come fish off the coast of Africa and then take it across the Indian Ocean through Asia and back to the Pacific. And I guess it does. I don't know why, but
It's
they
insane.
were filling up a 300-foot boat with fish and taking it away. So it's not cool. Um, so Gordon Potter, can you talk about the research and effort that goes into choosing which destinations you sail to? Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, we generally start out by looking, I think, at the weather and the seasons, because that dictates everything that we do.
Yeah.
So, especially around the Indian Ocean, when we were thinking about going back to Madagascar, we figured out, okay, the hurricane season goes from it's the summer, right? So it's like December to May in the southern hemisphere, the opposite in the northern hemisphere. So we figured, okay, if we're going to go back, we can't really leave South Africa until May. Otherwise, you could have a seasonal tropical storm or cyclone. So that's the first thing it sets. And once we know our time frame, we kind of look at on a general map, we look at the prevailing winds and we look at the currents, and we say, okay, this is the way or the direction that we could sail. There's a super cool book by I think, is it Jimmy Cornell, called World Cruising Routes, and it basically outlines all this out for you. If you're going to go across the Pacific, there's a certain type of season that's best to do it. There's a route that will allow you to see, like, a lot of islands, and all these routes are laid out in that book. So if you're seriously thinking about, like, routing and seasonal and islands for every ocean in the world, check out World Cruising Routes. It's also on our required reading list, tidbits on the
But
website.
I think after that, kind of what I mean, I'm going through some stuff now, like looking at Brazil and the Caribbean too. Like then you start reading. Like I go to Noonside, read everything there about the country and different places. Like where do I check in? Where do I have other people gone to? Like where can I find? Like I remember you telling me when we were in Australia, like because I asked you like because I was completely new to it, I was like, how do we know where to go? And you're like, well, just look on Google.
Look and find someplace cool you want to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I searched on Indonesia and I just looked at pictures and then I just saw these pictures of Raja Ampat and I was just like, I have to go there. And then we were like, okay, so we want to go here. And then we figured out it's really good diving there. Awesome. Then, it kind of came from there.
Yeah.
So,
And now that we're planning for our next season, we know we want to go to Brazil. Like, we know that, and so we figure out when we're going to leave, how we're going to get across the ocean. But then we also start thinking about, what does it mean to go there? Like, as an American citizen, I need a visa to go to Brazil,
yeah,
whereas as Karen
I don't
doesn't.
need. Yeah,
So we figured
that's
that out. So I'll have to get my visa. Also, yellow fever seems to be an issue, so we might have to go get a yellow fever vaccination. So we learn these things by just now start doing Google searches on, like, any sorts of health risks in the areas or the countries that you're going to, like um, medical things, like security issues,
yeah,
visa things, and a lot of the stuff is on Noonsite, but a lot of it you just kind of have to search on your own, talk to
yeah.
other people. Yep. Uh, let's see. Any interest in visiting the polar regions? Yeah, I think for a
Yeah,
long time we've talked
yeah,
about going definitely to Patagonia. That would be a dream, and
yeah.
then from there, once you're there, you might as well just go south around the Horn and then Antarctica's right there. Also, the Northwest Passage seems like a very cool thing to possibly do. Now that that's opened up, like start either in, on the west coast of the States and go over the top to the East Coast or vice versa. I haven't really done a lot of research into it, but it does fascinate me. I don't know if Delos is the best boat for that. Like we don't even have a heater. But those things can be figured out once you have the dream in the course, then you can go from there.
It would be amazing.
What kind of, okay, so this is Teddy from Sail Loot. What kind of dive compressor do you have? How big is it? And does it take up a lot of room in the engine compartment? So the dive compressor we have, it's a Poseidon 100. I think it's similar to a Bauer Junior. It's electrically powered. It runs off of our generator. We have it in the engine room, and I don't know the exact, it's like maybe a meter by half meter by half meter. So it's not huge. It's not a big monstrosity. Most of the ones that people have on cruising boats are powered by a gasoline engine because they either may not have a generator or their generator is not big enough because it does take quite a bit of power. Our generator is 7 kilowatt. That seems to be enough to run it without any problems. It fills a typical bottle in about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how hot. Like if it's a very hot day, it takes longer. If it's cool, it goes shorter. Obviously, if you empty the tank more, it takes longer to fill. But yeah, I would search on Poseidon 100 and Bauer Junior, and if you're going to dive off your boat, I highly recommend it because it's probably paid for itself like 4 or 5 times over by now. And you get to dive in places that you normally wouldn't be able to fill bottles at because there's no dive shops there.
Should we do one more? Maybe I should answer this one.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So this is a question by Bram. Hey Karen, my wife has a question for you. Do you ever feel it's just you surrounded by all of these guys? And how do you deal with all of the guys? Well, I mean, I think in general the sailing community is it's a lot of guys. I like to refer it to the sausage party.
Sausage party.
Because it is a lot of guys all the time almost. But I do also feel that we manage on Delos to have girls on board, and we try to really like keep a good balance between like when we have crew joining us, to always kind of have at least one girl for me.
Just for your sanity. Yeah.
Definitely. So it's, I mean, but it's also a lot of couples and stuff, so
I think one thing that you're very good at is finding your own space.
yeah.
Like if me and Brady and like for example when Dylan and Kirill were up doing whatever it is we do at random times, like, and you didn't want to be a part of that, it's cool for you to go back to the cabin and have your own space, have your own quiet, listen to your audiobook, just relax, and that's okay. Like we don't, it's not weird or anything, it's just what you do and it's fine. Yeah.
So
it's good.
I think yes and no. Because we deal with it pretty well, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. This has been really cool. Like I really enjoyed this.
One more thing. If you had to choose more scuba tanks or bigger compressor, I think I would do more tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, because you have the option of not having to run the compressor during the middle of the day. You can dive multiple dives. You can fill it. You can fill tanks when you're normally running the generator anyway, which we do. And 3 or 4 people diving, when you're filling tanks, if each tank takes 20 minutes and you fill 4 tanks, that's an hour and a half or something time? And so that's basically your surface interval. So if you're doing multiple dives in a day, you come up and you fill tanks, then if it takes 30 minutes to fill all your tanks, then you're just going to have to wait another 40 minutes or 50 minutes for your surface interval anyway. So, to me, I think it doesn't really matter, I guess. Something to think about. Yeah. But anyway, thanks, guys.
This worked really well.
Whoa, this was cool. I think if you liked it, let us know. Perhaps we could do one like topic orientated. Maybe we could.
Brady too.
Yeah, and when Brady gets back, we could do some on like maybe just navigation or just boat maintenance or electronics or something, and do them. Yeah, but it was fun. I hope it worked good and you could see us and hear us. And we love you all. Thank you so much for the support.
Thank you so
And
much for making
peace
all
out
this
from
possible.
Delos in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And more videos coming at you on Friday.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
How do you turn this thing on?